and welcome to the Sex State of the Nation. I'm Dr. Tlaleng.
And I'm Tika.
And together we are your curators for this podcast series.
And to be part of the conversation, please follow us on Twitter. Our handle is at PodSexEd. And on Facebook, we are the Sex State of the Nation. How do we have a hashtag? We do have a hashtag.
It's PodSexEd.
Yes, hashtag PodSexEd and hashtag SexState.
And I mean, you can follow this conversation throughout on Twitter, on SoundCloud, and on Facebook. And feel free to get in touch with us and let's talk about sex.
Yep. And we do have a Gmail account as well. So if you've got any specific topics or points of discussion that you'd like for us to engage with, you send us an email at podsexed@gmail.com. So great, Dr. T, this is exciting. I'm excited. Are you excited?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so because obviously this is the sex state of the nation, I'm very interested in knowing what your sex state of the nation is in relation to everything and everything.
Wow. So like the sauna is coming up soon, right?
Yeah.
So if I had to give a sex state of the nation, it's a hot mess.
It is.
Honestly, like I just feel like
couldn't agree more.
We have such potential to get things right, but yet we still get it wrong. And I think I'm coming from a perspective, looking at things on a national level, looking at policy, and just how as South Africans, we just engage with each other, I suppose, when it comes to issues of sex and sexuality and gender, and how much of it is around trauma and negativity, and not enough time is ever spent on sex positivity and things that actually enhance people's sex lives and sexual experiences. So, I mean, not to be all negative and everything, but I think it's important for us to sort of look back at how we got to where we got to.
Yeah.
And then look forward to, I suppose, a better state.
With better orgasms.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Toe curling orgasms.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I can prescribe that for everybody. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. No, that's the doctor's order for today. Toe curling orgasms. So that's my sex state of the nation. I think on an individual level, I think there's so much positivity going on, especially with Black women in our bodies and how we are just so liberated now compared to then, compared to our moms and our aunts, and how this generation of the Black South African young woman is sort of claiming that space and saying, this is who I am, and I won't apologize for having, these thighs that thunder. Well,
exactly.
Enjoy the music, dance to this, and that's what it's about on that personal level. But I think there's other issues that cloud and really just make experiences a bit heavier than they need to be. And Tika, what's your sex state of the nation?
It's just on what you just said. It's strange how there's such lack of sex positivity, and it's such a political space when you think about it, and it really shouldn't be. Obviously engaging on the politics of that should be around how to ensure access to healthcare services, particularly on sexual and reproductive health and rights. And so it shouldn't be as political. Like, we shouldn't be fighting against conservatism and patriarchy on our bodies. And I guess, for me, my sex state of the nation will start by this meme that I saw a couple of days ago, which talks about how women can look at a makeup tutorial for like 2 hours and get it, and men can watch porn for 7 years and still not be able to locate the clitoris.
They traumatize us, okay? Never mind not know how to locate. But like, it's traumatic.
Even people that think they know where the clit is.
No clue.
Just work with me.
And that's the point, isn't it? Like wow. Like, everybody thinks they can say stuff about our vagina.
Exactly. Oh, of course, everyone
has a license.
But everyone has a position
and an opinion of what a vagina does and should do and what it shouldn't look like.
I'm starting to think that everyone actually has a vagina. I don't know. Like, the way we're just so comfortable and confident in telling women what to do with their vaginas is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And so for me, really, I think we share a similar understanding of the state of the nation when it comes to sex.
Mixed emotions. Really.
Exactly. And I'm just, more than anything, obviously for me, from a communications and advocacy perspective, whether you're looking at it globally or nationally, but really I feel like we are, in as much as we are also on that era of women claiming back and taking back, but we have to also push hard in that sense, because we're also in an escalating era of conservatism where we're not able to express our bodies for what it is and
here's
who
the
it
thing,
is.
okay? People who oppress other people thrive on that power.
Exactly.
So by us standing up and saying, well, we're taking back that power, those people are not gonna play nice. And that's what I think the mood that you're describing about extremism and conservatism is, that it's now coming sort of to the forefront, whereas it's precisely because women are standing up and more vocal. And I mean, my journey of being a sexual health educator, not just a doctor really, it's because, I used to spend a lot of time in clinics where I was probably the youngest like a medical person in that clinic. And of course, when you're having these conversations one-on-one with the patient, when they're consulting, you tend to pick up the little subtle stuff that's not being said.
Exactly.
So I found a lot of young people who would come to the clinic pretending that they are ill, just so they could ask me about their pleasure zones in the vagina.
Really?
So so it was like almost like the health system isn't designed for people who are well. It's not designed for people who just want to know about their sexuality and how do things feel good and where must I touch, and and I promise it was so interesting because I used to have a Wednesday clinic in the West End, and I'd have more people waiting for me at my car after the clinic than I did have
questions.
inside.
Oh my word, are you serious?
Exactly, and that's what I thought.
That's really
this
interesting.
must be...
And I mean, in the case of your dynamics, it plays out differently, because on campus, for example, where I started doing my work, it would be when you are actually having exhibitions on sexual health or women's health or HIV, because I was working at the HIV/AIDS unit, which a lot of people shy away from as well because of the stigma. But you'd get people coming to ask, how can I use a condom, ABC? But then the follow-up questions will have nothing to do with that. But I mean, I feel like compared to what you're talking about, that was a space that's kind of already been created to try and get young people to ask those questions. So for you to actually have people waiting outside your car, I I guess that's also the purpose of the show, right?
But you know what it was? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about the myths, but also people to understand, and especially young women, because the messaging out there is so much telling us how our bodies are sinful, how we,
of course,
make other people lust after us, and we must wear certain clothes, we must avoid certain places, so that we don't make other people sin, so that we don't make other people lust after us.
It's like you are at fault of your own oppression.
Exactly.
You create it yourself. You don't want to get raped, don't wear a miniskirt, because if you do, you will get raped. The rapist will not be told not to rape, or there won't be any justice in relation to that, but the questions will be directed to you, which is, and it's very problematic.
It's very hard, because if, in South Africa, in the context of our country, in terms of its history, you've got the mix of culture and religion in one pot. Then you've got the history of colonialism and oppression, and how,
of course,
white supremacy, used our own culture against us as a people as a means to oppress us, and then quoted things and referenced the Bible, to further, preach that message. So for us to turn that around, for us to turn the messaging into a more body positive, sex positive language, it's gonna take more than just a few women saying, this is actually quite cool. It actually has to be a sustained national agenda that we all go into, because that influences how we relate, with other men, for example, how girls relate with boys, and how children are being given different messaging, because you are a girl, or
issues
because
of
you are a boy.
consent as well. I was watching, you've got a video blog on YouTube as well around consent, and some of the things that you were saying there, I'm taking it back to when we were little children and you're being told to go kiss and
you must,
and sometimes it's just like, but really, like, I just don't want to kiss this human, and then it's just like, no, but that's your uncle, you must. And already there's that sense of entitlement and that sense of submission that you're kind of being given, and it kind of puts you in a particular headspace that develops into something that kind of results in you
and it means for
as
kids,
a woman particularly.
And it means what we're saying to kids is, don't listen to that inner voice. So if something feels uncomfortable, it feels too personal, we're saying to kids, no. But if it's your uncle or your family member or someone that your mom knows, you must then force yourself to even do things that you don't feel like doing. But coming back to this PodSexEd, it is a podcast. It is about sex, sexuality. It's about education, and I think you and I are quite open to having
All kinds of conversations.
All kinds of conversations.
Of course.
The input, you know,
exactly.
from what people want us to talk about. I think it's quite key because you and me, we can talk for hours and hours. But I think it's nice to open that space up to say,
what do people want to say? And what do they
let's
want to
all
hear?
talk. Let's engage.
Exactly.
Let's take this conversation forward.
Yeah.
My handle on Twitter is @Dr. Tlaleng, and you can also follow the podcast series @PodSexEd on Twitter, and you can like our Facebook page, Sex State of the Nation. And Nomtika, you are at Nomtika.
My Twitter handle is @Nomtika. And I mean, we'll just share the other platforms. You'll see when you get to our Facebook and our Twitter page, you'll see some of the stuff that we've done and how else you can get in touch with us outside of this space through our blogs, through our vlogs, and other forms of engagement.
So just as a parting shot for me, I think we need to get to a point where we realize that our reproductive rights are in the Constitution and protected by the Constitution.
Yes.
But we also have reproductive health where we need to promote prevention, but wellness, but also sexual health, you know, and how sexual rights and health meet and I suppose then give us the reproductive justice, you know. That's
And
sort
I
of the
think,
triangle because there's no, you know, rights without a service, without healthcare
And access
there's no
is-
justice.
exactly.
You know, so we need to have the triangle where
You said something at the AIDS, was it at the AIDS conference, where you said there is no choice without justice. I mean, we talk about choice and options, and for me, that's the punchline. You can't talk to me about choice if there's no justice. You can't talk to me about these options that I have if I can't walk out and actually access those options. And so, I mean, for me also, just from this communications perspective, it's also about it's also about being much more progressive in how we communicate. So even if we are talking about sexual health, how are we talking about
what
sexual
is the
health?
actual messaging?
What is our and what are we
Yeah.
saying? You know, because I can't be telling you to prevent XYZ and make it seem like you are risking your life by actually having sex and actually turning a blind eye to the fact that people actually have sex for pleasure.
No one has sex to prevent HIV.
Exactly.
That's the point.
No one has sex to risk their
We're having
lives.
sex for pleasure.
Exactly.
But what we need to get to a point where we acknowledge that because it's a fact. That will
Exactly.
not change. No amount of communication for social behavior change will make people stop having sex for pleasure.
Exactly.
That will not exist.
Exactly.
I mean, I've been in meetings on a national level where I've asked people to define exactly which behavior they would like young women to change, and no one can define what
because
that
what is
behavior
it that you want them to not do? Because I think more than actually trying to get, whether it's young women or young people, to engage in safe sex, more than us wanting that, we're actually trying to police how people are having sex and who they're having sex with more than anything. And so you want to win people away from blessers, you want to do this, you want to do that, but you're actually not necessarily looking at how people are having sex because they are.
And why? Because I mean, in South Africa,
exactly,
we know a fair amount about condoms and safe sex. So with everything that we know, why are we still in the position that we're at? And I propose that it's because we are not paying attention to the reasons that make people make the decisions they make and the choices they make, even with all the information they have. And we may judge that and think, oh, well, you're being risky. But if you don't understand the context of people, you know, why they're having sex in a certain way, you won't get the solution.
Exactly. So, I mean, what are some of the things that we'll be chatting about in the next few weeks? I know we've got a topic on abortion.
Yes, we'll talk about condom use and how that can enhance sexual pleasure. We'll talk
and I recently tried out the menstrual cup.
So did I.
Which I'm really excited about because now I'm like a menstrual cup user. So I'm sure we'll be sharing a review about that as well.
We'll do that, yeah.
So people should just stay tuned.
And we'll talk about vaginas and clitorises and orgasms
our
and
favorite
all that
thing.
stuff.
Yes.
The clit must like a crowning, like a special crowning.
Yes.
Hey?
Power emanates from the clit, I think. So I don't know if people
It is. So I think this was a good first one.
I think it was great.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to more. So yeah.
We're signing out.
Yeah.
And I'm Dr. Tlaleng.
And I'm Tika, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.